cover your balls.
Hey now. Happy Thursday. Welcome into episode 3737. That's only 3 away from 40. It's pretty impressive that we're almost at 40, Jordan.
That's a lot of episodes.
I am today's host, Mitch Balla, alongside my two wonderful, and let me tell you, they got some hot takes today. My two co-hosts, Jordan McKelly and Sam Summers. Jordan, how are we doing on this Thursday, almost Friday day?
Oh, I'm ready to get after it. Let's get after it. I'm ready to get into some stuff. Yeah, you know what? I've been getting attacked recently on social media in other places, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm sick of it. And it's coming from all these I swear, like the radical political individuals are also the radical political individuals. It has to be for Michael Jordan and LeBron. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm tired of it. Tired of it.
We're gonna have to debate that later in the show. But Mr. Summers, how are we doing over there today?
You know what? We're doing good. We had a fire drill today at school. We did fantastic. Didn't lose a kid. We, got all together, got outside, and I think we passed the test. I don't know. I would give our class an A+. So.
An A+ on a fire drill. That's exactly what you want to see. Kids excelling at safety. And I would ultimately have to say that the reason they excelled is because the amazing leadership of Mr. Sam Summers. And that, folks, is why he is going to win a Peace Prize one time in his life. Isn't that right, Sam?
That's absolutely right, Mitch.
At least one. Guys, we have so many balls to cover today. Lots of basketballs, some footballs, maybe dabble in the baseballs. I don't know. But people are here to get their balls covered. And let me tell you, I hope a lot of people in the NBA had their balls covered because there were balls flying all over the country today. All over the country.
All over.
I mean, hell, if your name was Gary, it was a terrible day to be named Gary. Every player in the NBA whose name was Gary was traded. And we'll break that down here soon. But first, it is 4 o'clock, which means we need your top 4 sports mascots right now, Jordan, starting with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty simple. We're going to start up. And, I really don't have a favorite. I have a top 4, for our top 4 at 4. Brutus. I mean, if you don't like Brutus, then you're most likely not an Ohio State fan, because if you're not an Ohio State fan, you hate Ohio State. I also have Slider from the Cleveland Indians. If you don't have a memorable Slider moment, you haven't been to enough Indians baseball games. At number 3, I have Chomps from the Cleveland Browns. That speaks for itself. And at number 4, and I'm going to say this name wrong for sure, Osceola and Renegade from Florida State University. Anytime you're bringing a spear onto the field, I'm all for it. It just raises the stakes. And honestly, football's gotten soft. So.
I agree. I'm actually shocked you didn't have the Maslin Tiger, Obi. I don't know how big of a fan you are of the Maslin Tigers. That's okay. I'm sure he was at number 5 on your list.
Such a big fan.
That was a good list. I expect one of those to be on Sam's list. And if not, I think that mascot will be very upset. But Sam, please take it away for your top 4 mascots at 4 p.m. today.
I think that mascot might be a little upset, Mitch, because coming in at number 4, I have Bernie Brewer from the Milwaukee Brewers. The only reason is he gets to slide down that huge, big yellow slide every time there's a home run. Whatever Milwaukee's Brewer Stadium is called, but that's pretty sick. Talk about one of the coolest gigs in MLB. Coming in at number 3, I have Cardinal the Tree from Stanford. I used to love playing mascot mashup in the old NCAA football games. Tree versus Orange. Otto the Orange from Syracuse is my favorite personal matchup, but I'm riding with the Tree. Number 2, I've got Flash from the Kent State Golden Flashes. How could I not put him up on there? Number 1, I have Eric the Viking. Eric the Viking from the North High School Vikings up in Akron. Had to put him at number 1. Few honorable mentions, Mitch, but I'll hold off. Listen to your list, and then I'll give those guys a shout out after you're done.
Respect. I definitely assumed the Golden Flash would be on there, but Sam, I'm a little disappointed that Slider didn't make it. As you recall, you and I have went to a lot of Indians games. We actually have a picture with Slider on Mother's Day, in which you said Slider was your mother. So hopefully either 1, Slider is not your mother, or 2, Slider is not going to view this and be upset with you. That was my only cause of concern there. I hope you understand that. But guys, my top 4 mascots at 4 are pretty simple. Coming in at number 4 is Rowdy the Roadrunner from the University of Texas San Antonio, because who doesn't love a Roadrunner? I mean, just listen, a Roadrunner, you don't really see him often. I don't even know what it is. I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks like a bird, and I know we've seen the Roadrunner in Looney Tunes before and stuff, so I don't know. They're fast though. That's why I kind of like it. Probably because it was never fast. Number 3, guys, is the Philly Fanatic.
Ooh.
Very social mascot. Loves to mess with opposing teams' players and personnel. Just an all-around great mascot. The Philly Fanatic. At number 2 is Brutus the Buckeye.
Well done.
The Ohio State mascot. One of the best there is in all the country. And guys, coming at number 1 is me. When I was a purple Teletubby in high school. I'm gonna stand by that. You know, I was a pretty damn good honorable second mascot behind the polar bear at high school. But listen, the purple Teletubby, unmatched. I mean, I wore that thing in some cold weather. I wore it inside a sold out basketball gym where I could have had a heat stroke in that thing. I missed that suit. I really,
yeah. I forgot I was a mascot one time as well. I was the Malone Pioneer at a women's playoff softball game up in Akron at like Firestone Park, and it was 95 degrees. It was.
Did they win?
No, I don't think so. I think the team's the Akron Racers.
That's your fault.
Maybe.
The Akron Racers.
Yeah, the Akron Racers. Yeah, it was a terrible experience. I would never do anything like that for. It didn't. Yeah, it was awful.
I never wore the Teletubby inside another basketball game ever after I did it one time in a sold out gym because it was the hottest thing I've ever done.
I mean, shout out. I have a buddy who does that, for the Browns and the Indians. And it's amazing that he's able to do that in some of those, just for those long spans of time.
Mm-hmm. Sam, I'd love to hear your honorable mentions. Before you do that, I do have an honorable mention right here on my shirt. This is Brain from Pillow Talk by Lil Dicky. I would consider him a mascot for Lil Dicky. And if you don't, that's okay. You have your own opinion and you're entitled to your own wrong opinion. But this is an honorable mention for me, Sam. I'd love to hear your honorable mentions.
Yeah, absolutely, Mitch. Well, speaking of Little Dicky, coming in, we've got from University of Rhode Island Design. It's a dick. That's their mascot. You ride. Their mascot's a penis. Look it up. Thank you, TJ Rauer, my roommate. He helped me with a little pre-show prep before this. We've got the Cal State Long Beach Dirtbags. Everybody from California is a dirtbag, especially when you go to Long Beach full of dirtbags. That couldn't be more fitting. North Carolina School of the Arts, the Fighting Pickle. I don't know. And this might be pretty close to home to one of our viewers. It's actually the unofficial mascot of Dartmouth football, Katie the Keg.
Yes. Shout out Jake Pilata.
And that's all I've got for my honorable mentions. Mitch, I'm surprised you didn't put Shamu, unofficial mascot of the Purple Teletubby. Shamu.
You're right. It is. And that's just a touchy subject. I lost Shamu senior year when the school ripped her out of my arms on senior day. Never been returned. The last place reportedly seen was SeaWorld, which if that's the case, that's messed up. Like Shamu does not deserve to be in SeaWorld, but that's another story for another time. Touchy subject. I lost my love, but we're okay. Guys, wonderful list, by the way. Jordan, I think that was just a great all-around list. No duplicates. We had some great honorable mentions. I'm sure people in the ball pit are furious right now, probably throwing punches in the air that we didn't name their favorite mascots, but that's okay because we all have our own list. But let's dive in first and cover some basketballs. Guys, today is the NBA trade deadline, or it still is, but the deadline has passed. It was 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some small moves, some big moves. We'll start home with our Cleveland Cavaliers. Andre Drummond, who has been sitting out to get traded since, it feels like the middle of January, was not traded. Instead, the Cavs are going to buy him out, which I did say when the Cavs announced they were sitting to trade him, it was a terrible move because now teams would just wait for this to happen, which, voila, it happened. Andre Drummond's going to get bought out. They're working on that. But our Cavaliers did trade all-world center JaVale McGee to the Denver Nuggets, who are very active today. The Nuggets get JaVale McGee and a trade exception, while the Cavs get center power forward Isaiah Hartenstein, 7-footer. Sam, are you familiar with Isaiah Hartenstein?
I am, only because of his name. I love 2K, so you can name a random NBA player, and I'll probably have heard of him just because I recognize the name from 2K.
Jordan, are you a big fan?
Go ahead,
Go.
Jordan. Yeah.
Have no idea what the hell you guys are talking about. Just waiting.
The guy
What?
the
I'm
guy
just waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting until we talk about a team that's relevant. We have all these big moves on the trade deadline. You walk it into the Cavs.
Well, we traded all-world center JaVale McGee. That's NBA champion JaVale McGee.
We got 3 second-rounders from that. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. And guess how many of those players are probably going to end up playing for us?
Well, yeah.
Probably all of them, because we still have freaking Jetty Osman, who's like a 19th rounder. That's a story for another time. Look, I had to get the Cavs out of the way. Let's stay with the Denver Nuggets, who remain extremely active. Guys, they get former slam dunk champion Aaron Gordon from the Magic. They send Gary Harris over to the Magic, point guard RJ Hampton, and a 2025 protected first-round pick. Nuggets currently sitting at 6th in the Western Conference standings. Jordan, does this move help the Nuggets, and will it propel them to move up in the Western Conference standings?
I mean, I think they'll be better. I just don't know if that's enough time for him to gel with Murray and the Joker. I mean, they only have 30 games left, and he played an enormous role down in Orlando, maybe the largest role, right? And so how's that going to work? I don't know. I don't think this is the right piece. I think it does make them better. But to be honest with you, I've never looked at them as a threat to anybody in the West in terms of getting out of the West. So, no, it does not do enough for me to put them even in my top 4.
How about you, Sam? Does the acquisition of Aaron Gordon help the Denver Nuggets, and will it move them up in the standings?
You know, I'll just touch on the Magic. I love what the Magic are doing. Acquiring draft picks, that team, that's an 8th seed in the Eastern Conference standings. You're not going anywhere with a team like that. That's why I wish the Cavs would have just unloaded the house today, because you're just not going to win with that sort of roster. I think Aaron Gordon's pretty fantastic. Denver lost Jeremy Grant to the Pistons this offseason, and Aaron Gordon fits that style. He's a lot more talented than Jeremy Grant. So someone who's a slasher can stretch the floor a little bit more. I like the Nuggets a lot more now, but how much, we'll see.
I agree. I'm not very high. When I say high, I don't think Aaron Gordon is a type of player that's going to change a franchise around single-handedly. He was in Orlando for a few years. He had to make the playoffs as 7-8 seed. Ultimately, though, I think he will and has the potential to thrive in Denver, where he is not the number 1 guy or number 2 guy, really. Like you said, Jordan, he'll play alongside the Joker, who is now between him and James Harden, the front runner for MVP, and Jamal Murray. And they have a great bevy of other players as a supporting cast. So I think Aaron Gordon could potentially thrive, but like you said, is that enough time for him to gel? And that'll have to wait to be seen. I honestly don't see how it moves them up anywhere past the 4th seed in the West, just because those teams are so good, competitive, and the Nuggets are just pretty far behind right now with how they decided to start out. Guys, we'll stay on the Orlando Magic. A team that's fighting to make the playoffs or the play-in tournament is the Chicago Bulls, who our Cavs just beat last night. We don't need to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the Bulls did today. The Bulls acquired all-star center Nikola Vucevic from the Magic and power forward Al-Farouq Aminu. The Bulls send to the Magic Otto Porter Jr., center Wendell Carter Jr., a 2021 first-round pick, 2023 first-round pick, and a $4.2 million trade exception. Jordan, does this make the Bulls better? This is just one of the 2 trades they made today.
I mean, the Bulls are in the position that Sam just talked about the Magic are in, kind of. I kind of feel like they have to shake it up a little bit. I wanted them to acquire pieces. I know they have Zach LaVine, or is it Levine? Levine, whatever. We're going to call it like that. It's one of those teams where I mean, they barely have a star, let alone in going out and getting who? I mean, they need to go get another star. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it, but I don't really care because, like I said, with the Cavs, this is a team that's not going to be a team that we talk about much longer this season, because they'll probably not make the playoffs or be out in the first round.
Sam, your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, I really like what the Bulls did in getting a I guess a bona fide all-star in Vucevic.
Uh,
He's somebody who's going to get a double-double every game. He's very skilled. He can stretch the floor. He's a phenomenal defender. I mean,
you think
he
he's that
basically
good?
carried. I mean, he carried the Magic to the playoffs the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
And you put him on a team that has Zach LaVine. They still have Laurie Markkanen whenever he plays, Kobe White. Um, they got rid of Otto Porter Jr., correct? Anyways,
Correct.
They got some young pieces. Their team was very, very young, but now they've got that young pieces. They've got LaVine, they've got Vucevic. So they'll definitely, earn a 6 seed maybe in the East, but are they championship contenders? No.
No, absolutely not. And they also did make another trade today with the Washington Wizards, in which they received small forward Troy Brown and center Mo Wagner that we know from the University of Michigan. The Bulls then turned around and traded Wagner to the Celtics and received center Daniel Tice. So, guys, the Bulls made a bunch of different moves, but ultimately, I think we're all in agreement here. This doesn't put them anywhere closer to even being a thought of winning the East. Sure, listen, they've been a team that has been irrelevant now for a number of years. Since Derrick Rose has left and Tom Thibodeau has left and Jimmy Butler has left, sorry. But now here they are trying to make moves, maybe trying to get a little excitement back in the Windy City to try to get this team in the playoffs and maybe compete, for a 6, 7, 8 seed or get in that play-in tournament, something the Cavs are vying for. Couple interesting moves by the Bulls, but ultimately none that are worth really expanding on, guys. The Magic, though, very active today. Traded Evan Fournier, three-point shooting guard to the Boston Celtics. Jordan, is with the Celtics getting a shooter like Fournier, does this help them? Are they going to turn it around now and get out of the basement of the East of the playoff standings, or are you still concerned as you were when you woke up this morning?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing the Celtics, I think, can do at this point. The writing's on the wall. I mean, they're going to have to blow something up after this season because this isn't working. And I don't know what they're going to have to do exactly, but I thought this would work. I mean, they have two guys who I think could be like big time, like all-stars, right? Guys who can average 27 to 30 points a game in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I have to eat this because I picked the Celtics at the beginning of the year, and it drives me so mad because I can't stand many of the teams in Boston, but I picked them because I really believe that they were like going to be that good. But that might be one of my worst takes yet. And I don't think this makes them any better. Their problem is much deeper than just needing a shooter.
Yeah, well, you're at least right, Jordan, and it's time to blow up that team. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's fire Brad Stevens, which is a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, or maybe it's trade Jason Tatum. When they took the Cavs to 7 games in 2018, in the Eastern Conference Finals, the reason they did that is because they were so deep. They had Kyrie, but I think Kyrie was hurt. But they had Terry Rozier. Jason Tatum was coming off the bench. Jaylen Brown was coming off the bench. They were so deep. Now they're very thin. They lack defense. So adding a guy like Fournier is going to do nothing for your defense. Mm-hmm. We'll see what the Celtics do this offseason.
I think that's the big thing you just said, Sam. It doesn't really add anything defensively, and we're going to have to wait to see what they do in the offseason, guys. It seems to me that, Brad Stevens came in. He was the hot candidate, hot hire in the NBA, and he was pretty successful when he started. In my opinion, it has all changed since they acquired Kyrie Irving and then went to Kemba Walker and let Terry Rozier go. This team has not been the same, and it ultimately, in my opinion, comes down to these guys all want to have the ball. Yes, Jason Tatum is a budding NBA superstar, okay? He is going to be great for years to come as long as he stays healthy, and knock on wood, he stays healthy. He hasn't had really many injuries yet. But Kemba Walker, via his health, the best availability for a player is being on the court. And he can't, stay healthy. And when he is on there, it shows that they haven't meshed well yet. So the Celtics have a bunch of questions that need answered. I think this was more so a move to show the fans, hey, we made a move. We tried something today. But ultimately, I don't know how, if you're a Boston Celtics fan, this wins you over at all. And I don't know how this makes the Celtics any bit better. Guys, a couple moves that aren't really relevant. The Miami Heat in one of their moves was very irrelevant. Acquired power forward Nemanja Bjelica. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but we're going to go with that. From the Kings, they send over small forward Mo Harkless. It doesn't really matter. The Sixers do make a move in getting point guard George Hill and small forward Iggy Brezidakis. We're going to go with that. The Thunder, on the other hand, from the 76ers, get center Tony Bradley, a 2025 second-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick, and Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers' father-in-law traded him to the Thunder. That is going to make for an uncomfortable conversation at the next holiday get-together for sure. But guys, the Sixers, I don't think this move puts them over the top. Yes, it gives them a very reliable ball handler behind Ben Simmons, someone who can make shots in the regular season. As we know, as Cavalier fans, can't do anything in the playoffs. In fact, misses free throws when the game's on the line in the playoffs. But the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, now have 34 draft picks over the next 7 years. Jordan, have you ever heard of anything like this? 34 draft picks in the next 7 years. And let's keep in mind, folks.
Well, that's what happens when you trade away like 3 guys who could all win MVP. I mean, that's what happens. You acquire a lot of picks. They didn't do their job. They couldn't keep anybody.
Yeah, but I don't know why more NBA teams don't do this. When it's time to blow up your team, at least you can recognize that. And now they're not going to be stuck, for a decade in the lottery because they have all those picks.
What are their odds they get anybody like one of those guys in the next couple decades? I mean, Kevin Durant might be one of the best players ever, right? James Harden, one of the best scorers ever. Like, Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double for 2 or 3 seasons. Like, what? All 3 of those guys are hard to draft. Though all 3 of them would be the best guy in a draft. You would take, right, at number 1.
Yeah.
If you can see into the future and see where all 3 of them are at, you would take Russell Westbrook because he's the worst one out of all of them by far, and you would take him for certain. I don't know if it's a good thing. It sounds good, but what if you keep him? What if you're able to keep him? I'm just saying, never should let him go.
I think the Thunder feel that way now looking back on it, but hindsight is 2020. Does the move to get George Hill, Sam, we'll start with you. Does the move to get George Hill help the 76ers at all when it comes to trying to win the East? I understand they're still one of the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, but all 3 of us had different opinions on the Sixers and ultimately said their success rides on the health of Joel Embiid. Does this move help them at all to threaten the Brooklyn Nets?
I think acquiring George Hill is pretty beneficial to whoever you are. Say what you want. He missed 2 of the biggest free throws of all time. But he's 6'7". He's lengthy as hell. He can guard the ball. He can pass the ball. He can shoot the ball. If you're making a run at the championship, I think George Hill is a great guy to acquire. We'll see. It's with the 76ers, it's can you stay healthy? And, I applauded them on keeping Joel Embiid healthy. And then I think a day later he gets hurt. So I don't really want to say anything at all. I love Joel Embiid. And I'm, good for the 76ers. I'm glad they got George Hill. But I think I might curse them.
He is the glass
He is the glass man.
It's unbelievable. And George Hill, I do like George Hill. Sam, you did a really good job there. Because after how you started, I didn't know if you could pull that back in. After saying he missed 2 of the biggest free throws ever. I think he is a really good pickup, though. I think you're definitely right. I like George Hill a lot. He's very beneficial for the Cavs when we had him. When we had LeBron.
He's just a veteran.
Yep. He is a veteran. Been there, done a lot of things, and we'll ultimately see how that works out. Guys, the Raptors made some moves today, not the one we were expecting. We expected to see the name Kyle Lowry on the trade block. And ultimately, the 3 teams involved in those trades or the discussions were the Los Angeles Lakers, who we know needed to make a move with LeBron and AD out for an extended period of time. The Miami Heat, who are now getting back into the swing of things as they were, and the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers struck out with this trade and getting him. And what the Raptors wanted is they wanted Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, and 2 draft picks from the Sixers, who ultimately said no. When I saw that offer, I was like, well, that's a pretty good offer. I wonder what the Raptors want. And then in came what the Lakers offered. The Lakers offered Dennis Schroeder, KCP, THT, which is Horton Tucker, and McKinney for Kyle Lowry. The Raptors said no, which then led me to believe, who was Miami going to make available, which we saw who Miami made available, guys. It just was not for who we thought. The Heat made Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a pick swap available and sent that to the Houston Rockets and instead got Victor Oladipo, guys. Now, Jordan, this is a move that could really help a team that was struggling early in the season. Injuries, the COVID bug got them.
Yep.
And I said on the last episode in 36, the Heat were coming back up all of a sudden. Is this the type of move that the Miami Heat made that could really propel them to jump up into the top 3 of the East and ultimately give them a fighting chance against the Nets?
Yeah, this definitely makes them, to me, the second best team in the East by far. I just don't trust the Sixers, and I obviously don't trust the Bucks. So I love Victor Oladipo. He has this same kind of energy Jimmy Butler does. He plays really hard. He can run the floor. He's a guy who's going to play defense. That's something the Heat love to do. They play defense really well. It's one of the reasons why they were able to get so far in the playoffs last year. And I think this move definitely makes them better. And honest to God, I think it's the biggest free agency move yet. In terms of the impact, I believe, in potential he could have for the Miami Heat. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, Jordan, you knocked it out of the park with that. I was at school all day, so I didn't really see who was traded and who was traded where. I did a quick scroll and I saw this trade and I was like, wow, I really love that. I'm a huge fan of guard play in the NBA, and those were just two grinders, Jimmy Buckets and Victor Oladipo. You don't want to play those guys, especially when the playoff comes around and teams start playing defense. Not to mention they have Bam Adebayo. That's gross. They're in the Milwaukee Bucks' head. That definitely solidifies them over the Bucks. Over the Nets, no. The Nets they're like the Cleveland Cavaliers of the 2015s to 2018. They're probably going to make the Eastern Conference Finals, or I'm sorry, the NBA championship every year, as long as those guys stay healthy. But yeah, I love that trade. I'm very pumped for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, this is one of the two trades I really highlighted for contenders today, and I love this move for the Miami Heat. One, it gets Victor Oladipo out of a shitty situation. The Houston Rockets had lost 20 games in a row, guys. Just an environment you probably don't want to be in if you're a competitor. And we know Victor Oladipo is. Since he was at Indiana, he's been a competitor. Really, guys, he made the Pacers stay afloat for a while and stay relevant, as they always made the playoffs between that 4 and 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. We saw year in and year out. But as Brandon Ranke pointed out in the ball pit, he hasn't been the same since that injury. But guys, I also think it's because he was the number one option for most of the time. Now in Miami, he's behind Jimmy Butler, behind Bam Adebayo, surrounded by Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. Don't forget Kendrick Nunn is there still. Goran Dragic off the bench. The Miami Heat, if they stay healthy, guys, I still think I think they can make a run at the Nets, but ultimately I don't know if they have enough to beat the Nets in a 7-game series. However, the other move that a contender made today, guys, was one that I don't think anybody saw coming, maybe not even the players that were traded. And that's Lou Williams, one of the best sixth men in NBA history, if not the best. Traded from the Clippers to the Atlanta Hawks for Rajon Rondo. The Clippers trading offense for defense. Guys, we know how valuable Rajon Rondo is, and we know that playoff Rondo is, in fact, a thing. Is this type of move something the Clippers needed? And better yet, is this a type of move that maybe Kawhi Leonard or Paul George needed? Because we know there was chemistry issues last year in that locker room with Montrezl Harrell and them. And we know Lou Williams is that same type of chirpy, chippy player that comes off the bench. Is this more so making the team better? Or was this more so making the players there happy by getting rid of somebody like that?
I think it's both. I think it's absolutely both. I don't know how I saw one of the trades and not the other. I saw that Rondo got traded, just didn't see where. Just so happens it's for Lou Williams. I think that Lou Williams, his floor is much lower than Rajon Rondo. for the playoffs. Rajon Rondo, you know exactly what you're going to get. No surprises. He's going to give you hard playing, good defense. He's going to be passing the ball everywhere. He's going to be averaging 13 assists a game. That's what Rajon Rondo gives you in the playoffs. He plays so much better in the playoffs than in the regular season. That's why we call him Playoff Rondo. It's a really good pickup. They don't need offense. They don't need more offense. Like Lou Williams, I think it's okay. I think they have enough offense with who they have. I just think they needed somebody who could facilitate and run the floor as a general, because Paul George ain't that guy. And Kawhi sometimes struggles to be that guy. So I think it's some security blankets. And I love the trade. I think it makes the Clippers better.
Sam, before you answer this, I want your opinion on if this helped on what the Clippers did here. But I also then want your take on the Atlanta Hawks, a team you were high on before the season started. They sit now at 7th in the Eastern Conference at 22-22. Does this move help the Atlanta Hawks?
Yeah, it definitely helps the Hawks. The Hawks have ball handlers. They're not really – they don't need Rajon Rondo. He's a great veteran to have. I'm sure he was a good veteran to Trae Young. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully he was. But the Hawks got some more scoring. The Hawks put up a ton of points. They're a team that if they get hot, they're hard to stop. But what the Clippers did is they did their lemon pepper trade. You know, the Clippers are trying to win a championship, and what did Sweet Lou do last year to get himself in trouble in the bubble? He got some lemon pepper wings at a strip club. That's not what you're doing if you're trying to win a championship. I pulled up the Clippers roster, and they don't have one good point guard. I mean, Patrick Beverley is their point guard. Reggie Jackson is their point guard. Now they have a point guard. They got Rajon Rondo. He's going to be great with the Clippers. You know, now that the Lakers might miss the playoffs, which is going to be a tough conversation, but they're not going to win very many games. I like the Clippers a lot. With this move, maybe Rondo goes back to back. Clippers have definitely jumped up in my title odds.
Giddy up. Well said, Sam. Well said.
Very, very well said. The Clippers sit at 3rd in the Western Conference, a half game ahead of the Lakers. But as we know, the Lakers will be sliding down with their 2 all-world players out. In fact, their first game the other night, they got their ass kicked by 18 points to the Pelicans, who guys tried to blow up the team today, ultimately didn't. Lonzo Ball, we heard, was on the trading block. We heard almost everybody on the Pelicans was available, minus Zion Williamson. Ultimately, though, they made one trade, and that was something people didn't see coming. Yesterday, reports came out that J.J. Redick wanted to be bought out and was joining the Nets. Well, the Pelicans must have caught all the backlash and ended up sending J.J. Redick to the Mavericks for James Johnson, Wes Iwundu, and a second-round pick. Guys, the Mavericks now, that's an interesting team. They're 7th in the West. They struggled early on and struggled mightily all around. Luka, who we thought was, a top 3 candidate for MVP this year, looked nothing like it when the year started. Is a move like this, Jordan, getting a veteran who has only now missed the playoffs one time, was definitely in danger of missing it a second straight year, and now has hope. Does J.J. Redick help the Dallas Mavericks at all?
J.J. Redick makes the Dallas Mavericks substantially better. I mean, J.J. Redick's not a number 1. J.J. Redick's not a number 2. But J.J. Redick, with his skill set, with playing with 2 other All-Stars, can average 16 to 20 points a game. How do I know that? Well, because he's done it for the last decade. That's why. I mean, he makes this team so much better because they have Luka. Imagine if LeBron had J.J. Redick right now. That would have been a great pickup if they could have pulled that off. We were talking the other day. You were thinking it might be the Nets, you said, and we were praying to God it wouldn't be the Nets because the championship would be a lock at this point. Really happy for J.J. Redick. I was complaining on Tuesday. I think they were listening to Cover Your Balls, and I think J.J. was like, I got to get the hell out of here. They're talking about me on Cover Your Balls now. Like, I can't have this anymore. So I'm happy for JJ. I mean, he's on my wall right here. He's my favorite player ever. I'll end up getting a Dallas Mavericks JJ Redick jersey next week.
Ooh.
You can bet that.
Yeah. JJ Redick, he loves his DWIs. He got one while he was at Duke.
Whoa!
What an outstanding program.
You
What
son
an
of a
outstanding
bitch!
program Duke basketball is.
Who the hell do you think
Duke
you
very,
are?
very clean. But you know what? The Mavericks, they're missing quite a few pieces. Again, I'm looking at the roster. Not too much of a mobile center. They really need that. But they're going to be a lot better. Since they got KP back, they've been rising up the boards. That's a huge pickup. If KP can stay healthy, Luka's going to be Luka. And if JJ Redick can knock down some key shots, they can make some waves in the Western Conference. They maybe could make the second round. I'm not sure about the Western Conference Finals, but the West is stacked. That's nothing against the Mavericks. The West is just that good.
Facts. The West is stacked. That's what we said. I mean, there's more than likely, unless teams just absolutely tank because they realize they're not making it, there's more than likely going to be at least 2 or 3 teams with over 500 records that miss the playoffs. Meanwhile, in the East, you're going to have probably 2 or 3 teams with losing records that make the playoffs. The West is absolutely stacked. And, shout out to Kyle Heckman, who stopped for a quick break on the work schedule and tuned in to cover your balls. He's out there in the ball pit. So if you're out there, make sure everyone says thank you for Kyle delivering your packages from FedEx with care, because that's what he does. He's a very gentle man with packages. But guys, there was a lot of other trades, nothing that's really worth touching on. Big shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Mitch Farnsworth, who put together every single trade, everything related to cap space, picks, whether they were protected or not, into a sheet and shared it with me so we could have the correct information while I was giving it to you guys. But there were some other moves, but none that are worth mentioning right now. The Warriors made a move. The Warriors sent Brad Wanamaker to the Hornets. Now, who they got back yet, very unclear. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something that was said the other day from somebody on the Golden State Warriors. And that would be Draymond Green. Draymond Green the other day came out and said he thinks he is the best defender in NBA history.
Here we go. All right.
NBA history means like ever since the NBA came in.
All right.
Maybe not just like this year or the one year he played really well defensively. It means all time. Jordan, you've loved it since he came out and said this. And I can't wait to hear why before Sam and I give our opinions on this topic.
Oh, no. I mean, you're the one who definitively came out and said that he isn't like a top all-time defender at all. So I feel like
that's not what he said. That's
first off. But
right.
You made that claim to me. You made that claim to me the other day. So how about you defend that? Because you don't even know my opinion yet. But here, if you want it, here you want it.
Say your opinion. Then is he the greatest NBA defender of all time?
Okay. First of all,
and it's one. It's not one of the greatest. Is he the greatest NBA defender of all time? Like he said.
Is he the greatest NBA? Okay, here. Is Draymond Green better than? Let me ask you this. I'll ask both you guys. Draymond Green, Dennis Rodman. Who you taking?
Rodman.
Yeah, I'm taking Rodman, hands down. Sam, I'll let you go before me.
Okay, well, how about this, guys? Do you know that in just the playoffs, Draymond Green has averaged 1.6 steals in 1.5 blocks over 123 games. Now, let me give you context. 1.4 steals puts you around the top 10 for steals as the season's going on. Come playoff time, Draymond Green's averaging 1.6 steals per game. So he's not just averaging top 10. Man, I'm echoing somewhere. There it is. He averages for his career, and literally maybe the best stat line ever outside of Tony Allen. Is he the best? I hate the argument of who's the greatest because then we get into conversations from players with different eras, but nobody's better than Tony Allen. I mean, Tony Allen's played 112 playoff games, has averaged, I think, 3.4 steals per game. By the way, Tony Allen was also averaging a double-double basically every season. So it wasn't like he was averaging like 3 rebounds and just like was around like one of the scrappy guys who just happens to like kind of like Julian Edelman's playoff yards anomaly. Like he's like it doesn't make sense with the caliber of wide receiver he is, and it's kind of like the same thing. It's not like that with Tony Allen is what I'm saying. He was a really good basketball player, but 3.4 steals a game. Draymond Green's not the best of all time, but he's definitely a top 5 guy for sure. I mean, defensive player of the year. Clay and Steph don't have a championship without Draymond Green. I mean, Jordan could win without Dennis Rodman. Steph and Clay, no way in hell they win without Draymond Green. No way.
Yeah, I'm a person who hates comparisons too, especially in terms of the NBA. The reason Draymond's so great is he can cover your 5, your 4, your 3, your 2, and sometimes your 1. You don't want him out in the 1, but he can. He's a very versatile player. He's very well spoken. That's why I didn't like his comments saying he's the greatest defender of all time. Like, I don't really get why you'd have to say that. Draymond gets some disrespect, and he's a Hall of Famer. Like, don't get me wrong, Draymond Green's a Hall of Famer. Very, very underrated player, very great defender, but greatest of all time, come on.
He's a great defender, but Jordan, you mentioned his steals in one series. Let's go back to 2015, where he wasn't even the greatest defender on his team. They gave MVP to a guy who was the best defender in that series, according to NBA writers, fans, and award givers. They gave it to Andre Iguodala for holding the best player on the team that Draymond Green refused to guard, by the way. If Draymond is the greatest defender, you should be guarding the best player. You just talked about his versatility in guarding almost every position. Sam just hit it too. He can guard the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. Well, he never wanted to guard LeBron James, but that's okay. He's not even the greatest big man defender. Dikembe Mutombo, one of the greatest all time. Great shot blocker. Sure, Draymond's better at steals than him. I'll give him that. Ben Wallace, great defender, one of the greatest defenders of all time. Dwight Howard literally took the Magic to the finals, being one of the greatest defenders of all time. Mm-hmm. Tony Allen, in my opinion, is one of the greatest defenders ever, especially in my lifetime. Look, his stats and numbers speak for himself. I still think, even mentioning him as the greatest defender of all time, he's still severely underrated when it comes to that. Listen, Draymond Green is too outspoken. He is a Hall of Famer because of all the accolades he's racked up in Golden State. They don't win some of those championships without him, but for him to come out and 1, say he's the greatest defender of all time is way off the mark. And then 2, for you guys to sit here and say Jordan to say he's still top 5 is also off the mark. He wasn't even the best defender on one of the teams that won the championship. Okay. So how can you be the best defender in NBA history, let alone?
I mean, because he's won defensive player of the year before.
One time.
Yeah.
One time. Yeah. So if you have more defensive player of the year awards, does that make them better than Draymond?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we could get into that. Sure.
There was just a question because there's plenty of other guys on here. I mean, I don't know. Would you rather have Marc Gasol, who is a defensive player of the year?
All I know is that when I think of the best defensive players ever, I think of meaningful defensive like playing time, and I'm not talking about like shit time. I'm talking about like real time. He was on one of the greatest runs of all time for any franchise in any sport, as far as I'm concerned. And he was the leader on that team. Without him, they never win a finals. And it never gets to the point where Kevin Durant has to come on down and save the Golden State Warriors. This whole thing in Golden State does not happen without Draymond Green at all. Not at all. I said it literally after the first finals, and I'll say it right now. He's literally the reason why that team goes. I understand that he's not like I get it. I get it. The stats aren't there in some areas, and I know he's not a great scorer. But I remember a time where he was even scoring 32 points in a game 7 and trying to save the Warriors because the offensive players couldn't even be there. So like when I think of like the totality of his play, meaningful defensive minutes, I think of a guy who is surely a top 5 player of all time. It's not even a question for me.
You mean defender of all time?
Defender of all time.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say, now, if you're about to say he's a top 5 player of all time, the show's over.
No. I'm talking about defensive players. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think Draymond's the best defender in the league. Um, a lot of defense doesn't show up in the stat sheet, and that's the tough thing about defense is you can get like, you might average 3 blocks a game, but you can't do anything on the perimeter. You're the rim protector, and sure, that's awesome, that's great. But Draymond, that's why he's the best defender in the league because of what he does on the defensive side and what doesn't go in the stat sheet. He's also a hell of a leader. And that's what you need. You need a leader on your court when you need to buckle down on defense. I would say Kawhi is maybe just as good as defender as Draymond, but he doesn't have the same leadership skills that Draymond has, and that's what accelerates Draymond. That's why he gets so much respect, is just because how great of a leader that he is. And to touch on your 2015 comparison, Mitch, that's out of line. Fate of the universe on the line. Who do you want taking the shot? Aliens coming to get us? It's Iguodala. We're all riding Iguodala.
You're right.
He's the greatest shooter of all time, greatest defender of all time. I mean, that's just an unfair comparison.
For sure. I saw somebody in the chat. Let me stop this for a second. I saw somebody say Jordan didn't win without Rodman, actually. I didn't mean that. I meant Jordan did win without Rodman because that was supposed to support my argument. So, yeah. It was supposed to support the Draymond argument. I don't have to speak about this any further.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I had to clarify that. Yeah, that was really pissing me off in the chat.
I'm not taking it. Listen, he's very versatile. He is a vital part. He's like, I don't want to say he's an energy guy because most people take that the wrong way when you say, oh, he's an energy guy. But I mean, he is the heart and soul of that team. And to your point about game 7 and 16, you're right, because Steph Curry can't show up in the big moment. That's a fact. He's a choke artist. Never has. Neither has James Harden in the playoffs. So both of them have a lot to prove still. Draymond Green, he's a great defender for his size. He is very versatile, but you just can't come out here and say you're the greatest defender of all time, because that's what he said. It wasn't, I'm one of the best defenders ever. The man literally said the greatest defender of all time. Yeah,
but he's a shit talker. That's one of the things that we love about Draymond Green is that he's a shit talker. Like, Draymond Green isn't the same guy without it. Like, he's one of those guys that we grade on a different curve. Like, Perfect in the NFL would have loved to be graded on the same curve that Draymond Green is graded on. And I think they're really, like, similar. I mean, this guy tried to he didn't try. He kicked the guy in the nuts. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but Perfect tried to kill a man. Multiple men. I mean, they're
I'm just,
little bit different, just a little bit.
I'm just saying he would have liked to be graded on a curve like that. I'm just saying, because I think Draymond is graded on a curve. Sometimes there are some times where he gets thrown out for doing nothing, but that's because when you talk that reputation. Much, that's what you get. Like he created that, then he cultivated it, and it grew to a point to where if he even looks at somebody. Sideways, the ref sideways, he's gone. Just gone.
Absolutely. I mean, he has brought that upon himself, though. And that's part of the reason, and Sam, I'll let you hit off this. Mm-hmm. I have some of the issues with him of what he says, because then all of a sudden he wants to play the victim. Well, people are out to get me. People are saying this about it. It's like, well, don't open your mouth. I mean, that's his personality. So he can't be sitting here complaining that he gets teed up all the time because he cries and complains about every foul, or that, reporters and everybody are out to get him when he opens his mouth and says outlandish stuff like this. He has brought that upon himself, which is completely another topic, another conversation. But that's where, if all of a sudden he starts to make comments in press conferences and he starts to act out on the court because he feels the heat, or players are going to go after him now on the court that are on offense, and he gets exposed a little bit, well, you brought that upon yourself. You have nobody to blame but yourself, because you opened your mouth in the middle of the season and did it with still half a season to play for plenty of players to want to come at you. We've seen across all sports before.
But he doesn't care if anybody comes at him like that. That's good for Draymond.
He doesn't care until it affects him being on the court and he keeps getting teed up. That's when he cares. And that's ultimately what it'll boil down to, because he'll get frustrated. You're right. He doesn't care what people do.
I know, but as
ultimately will bite him in the ass.
The refs have to be responsible, and they have to make sure that he actually does something worthy of getting tossed. They have to be honest about it too. And I think I don't think all of them will, but I think some of them will, because it's not realistic for all of them. Like one or two at least, right? Somewhere. So
we've seen it before with Boogie Cousins, because he used to have this same kind of persona and reputation too, where it was almost like, well, the refs are against me. It's like, well, big man, you need to stop, one, complaining about everything, and then two, stop opening your mouth after every game.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk shit about me after every press conference and I was going to ref your game a month from now, like, I can't wait for that a month from now. And, like, I can't blame that on the ref. I can't do that. Like, you should show some people, you should show all people respect. And when you don't, sometimes bad things happen. So it is what it is. But did you see the question in the chat, Mitch? What it was, Draymond or Gobert? See, I take good, like right now, like this season, like I would take Gobert. I think he's playing.
I was gonna say I'm about to pull him up right now to see.
No, but it's because he's playing very meaningful basketball too. Like it's not
right.
It like it's the same thing. I'm not gonna change my argument. That's one of the reasons why I have Draymond ranked so high.
Mm-hmm. But you can all. I'm actually coming to Draymond's defense on this one, but this is where you would say, do you need the versatility as a defender, or do you need a straight rim protector, which is what Gobert is? 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All Defensive Team, 2016-17 NBA block champion. So it ultimately would depend what your team needs. Sam, your last comments on Draymond, and then who would you rather have, Rudy Gobert or Draymond Green?
Yeah, I'm taking Gobert all day long in terms of player versus player. Now, when you were saying who's the better defender, well, it comes down to versatility. That's why it's the whole thing. Why are you even arguing who's the best defender? Who cares? All that should matter to Draymond is winning. The Warriors are getting very bored. All he has to do is talk. So good thing for freedom of expression in this country. You can say whatever you want with most of the time without repercussions. Judicial repercussions. You might get some societal repercussions and say, hey, Draymond, you're a moron. You might get that on Twitter, but yeah, I don't really get why he had to say he's the best player or the best defender of all time. Sometimes it's better just to keep your mouth shut and play the game.
He definitely had to say it. I'm glad he said it. Definitely had to, if you think about it.
The man doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. Guys, I think it's time we hit the headlines before we get to some of our other bigger topics. And
let's do it.
While we get to the headlines, I think we need to stay on the referee topic, guys, where NHL referee Tim Peel was fired by the NHL. Why? He was caught on a hot mic during a game saying he wanted to give one team a penalty. Just because. Well, and the NHL fired him.
Well, I mean, there it is. Right after I said what I just said, there it is.
Yep. I was going to bring that up during the argument, but Sam, do you think there's more referees out there across all sports like this?
He made he did a makeup call. Newsflash, makeup calls get called all the time. What a ridiculous thing by the NHL. Can we just be honest for once in this world? One time, can we be honest? Makeup calls happen. Shame on the NHL.
Amen. Shame on them, but also a referee. It's just pure ignorance to say that. Hey, know your surroundings. The mic around. You got to make sure it's off.
If you're that dumb, you lose. You get to lose everything.
Speaking of dumb and losing everything, guys, let's go to Massachusetts, where a high school football coach has been fired because of dumb play calls. By play calls, I mean the names of the plays he had for his high school football team. Now, Massachusetts this year, they are playing a spring season.
Please say one's called like the Scarlet Letter.
According to the New England's Anti-Defamation League, the words Auschwitz, Rabbi, and Dreidel were among those used during others to call audibles on the football field.
Oh, wow.
His own players then obviously contacted the school and an investigation was launched. He did come out and admit he had those play calls and others and owned up to the responsibility. He has been fired after using the anti-Semitic language to call the plays, guys. The Duxbury High School football team in Duxbury, Massachusetts is now without a head football coach.
Special type of
Get
dumb.
a clue.
Special type of dumb.
Get a clue.
Speaking of getting a clue, guys, some ship captains need to get a clue as the mega cargo ship is stuck in the Suez Canal. But what's better about that is while it got blown off track and was trying to navigate, it drew the shape of a penis on a graph. So one, they showed they had big balls, but two, they have now blocked one of the biggest major trade routes in all the world, which if not removed soon could ultimately affect gas, food, and supplies being shipped from country to country.
No. How am I going to get my Etsy supplies from the UK?
Just a tough scene as the Ever Given, which was sailing under the flag of Panama.
No.
It is stuck in the Suez Canal, guys. Just a tough scene there. 8 tugboats were trying to float and unblock the 59 meter wide, which is 193 and a half feet vessel. Thoughts on the guys that ended up putting this in the Suez Canal?
Oh, no, I can't believe nobody hammered me for what I just said. Go ahead, Sam.
They just need to lube up the ship and get it moving.
Oh my God.
Thank goodness we're in America, and it's probably not going to affect us. But the countries that rely on that trade route, my goodness. Not to say that we don't, but my goodness, that's tough.
Just tough scene in general.
But what's that blocking again? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
It's blocking the Suez Canal.
Where the hell is the Suez Canal?
Over in Panama somewhere. So
Okay.
it was a nice headline. I thought we needed to know. I just was more so talking about it that when you looked at the graph that the track that boat made, it was in the form of a penis, which was pretty funny. And then they ultimately blocked something, and now
It is pretty funny.
could affect millions and millions of people. You know what's not a tough scene though, guys? America and our native animal, or would you say mascot potentially? The bald eagle? Guys, what once nearly extinct, the American bald eagle population has quadrupled in the last decade. Is this a good sign for America?
That's a great sign for America. It can't be a bad sign.
We could use a good sign, that's for sure. Nothing more American, though, than letting your national bird or national mascot go extinct. So thank goodness for the bald eagle.
We got the bald eagle back, and hopefully it is here for a long time. I mean, on this rate, quadrupled in the decade, we're about to have bald eagles everywhere. Maybe one day you yourself can own a bald eagle as a pet. That'd be pretty badass if you ask me, but guess what? Nobody asked me. So moving on. Guys, baseball opens up a week from today, and one of the prohibited favorites in the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox, will now be without one of their mainstays in the outfield. White Sox outfielder Eloy Jimenez ruptured his left pectoral tendon and will miss 5 to 6 months, General Manager Rick Hahn announced today. Now, Jordan, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the White Sox. Sam, I know you know who Eloy Jimenez is. So how big of a blow is this for the White Sox, who made a bunch of acquisitions this offseason to potentially take the AL Central crown from the Twins and the Indians?
Yeah. Breaking news. The Suez Canal not close to Panama, Mitch Farnsworth says. That's a huge blow, Mitch. That's a huge blow. That's tough because Eloy, he was a rookie or second year last year. So you always hate to see a young budding star get hurt, especially a power guy like that. Tear a pectoral, who knows? He should be okay. If it's only for 5 or 6 months, I think the White Sox could tide over. But I don't know. I mean, they need that wild card spot. Uh-oh. Sorry, my AirPod fell out. I'm getting used to them. New AirPods this week. Maybe the viewers see.
Big flex.
Oh, yeah. They should be okay. They might make a wild card spot, but they won't win the Central.
Jordan, big blow for the Sox?
Yeah, Mitch, what you don't know is that I live with a Chicago White Sox fan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's news to me.
The question is, I should have broke this news for you. White Sox not win the Central because the Indians have to win the Central. They have to win.
Oh, the Indians have to win the Central.
They have to win the Central. This is going to be Frankie's Mona Lisa. This is going to be his best masterpiece yet. Yeah, this is going to be his Mona Lisa.
Oh, I'd hate to break it to you, but about a month ago, I think Francisco Lindor was traded. So we're rocking with.
Not that Frankie. I'm sorry. I meant to say Terry.
was
Meant to
like,
say
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Didn't meant to say
Francisco
Frankie. Oh
Francona.
man.
yeah, Francisco Francona.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
bad-
like that name.
Bad look for
Well,
me. Ugh. Ugh.
well, I'd hate to break it to you, but I don't know if Tito's going to be there either. So
We're
We
gonna be-
don't know what's going on.
keep this
We
on.
have absolutely no idea if Tito is going to be there, or however, maybe Francisco Francono could be there. We don't know about that one. Jordan may have just been foreshadowing what happens with the
I
Indians.
just feel like I'm making up new players and coaches. I need to stop.
It's okay. It's okay.
I need to stop.
Guys, one semi-breaking thing before I give you our last headline, which we're going to elaborate on a little bit. But the Miami Heat are eyeing LaMarcus Aldridge, who is going to be bought out from the San Antonio Spurs. Now, yes, I know LaMarcus Aldridge is not what he once was, but would a player of his caliber, I mean, he can still play ball. We know that, just not at the all-star level he was in Portland early on in San Antonio. Would a player like that in Miami with veteran leadership bolster that team even more off the bench?
I mean, that's a tough question because, I mean, they just got Victor Oladipo. There's so many moving pieces and parts now. I don't know, Sam. What are your thoughts on this? Still kind of letting this digest.
Yeah, when I hear a team like the Heat acquire Victor Oladipo and LaMarcus Aldridge, my mind immediately goes to championship. That's a great move. LaMarcus Aldridge was the first option in Portland. I guess the second option when he got to San Antonio, but now he doesn't even have to be like the fifth option. He could be the sixth, seventh option. I'd like to see him revitalize his career. I can't imagine he's that old at all. Maybe 35, maybe. I think he's younger than LeBron. So, hopefully he can stay healthy and get that team back on track. The Heat need it, but they got a mid-range guy. So, don't count on the mid-range shooters.
Sure.
Quick side note, Mitch Farnsworth out here just spitting facts in the chat, letting us know where the Suez Canal is. That's on me for saying it was in Panama. The ship was from Panama. I'd like to clarify that. I honestly had no idea where the Suez Canal was. Apparently it's by Egypt and Israel, about 7,000 miles away from Panama. So yeah, just not a quick thing at all. Couple day trip by boat. If you're going to swim, I wouldn't recommend that, but yeah. So shout out to Mitch Farnsworth. Just a bad look for me. But guys, speaking of bad looks, last headline, we're going to talk about this for a little bit though. We know the NCAA has had a lot of bad looks, especially the past week with the men's tournament and women's tournament going on, them being exposed about weight room and, the difference, and the women couldn't have one because of lack of space, even though they had half of a warehouse right behind their 8 sets of dumbbells. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about their latest stint, in which they basically stood up and said, fuck them kids, man. How though? This is how. A donut shop in New York, where Syracuse is from, who is still in the tournament, wanted to make Buddy Boeheim donuts. They would put Buddy's face on the donut. Every donut bought, the proceeds would go to the Boys and Girls Club of America. And you know what the NCAA did? They said, not so fast. You can't do that because we hate Boys and Girls of America, basically, because the name and likeness image. But God forbid CBS shows you Buddy Boeheim getting buckets all day long before the game or after the game. The NCAA is a piece of shit. And that's all there is to it. The NCAA blows. They blow to literally say, no, a person that wants to make donuts to benefit their business, their small business, and then also benefit the less fortunate kids in America, that has absolutely nothing to do with Buddy Boeheim. He would make no money off this at all. They said no. No, none at all. Jordan, I know a lot of people out there hate the NCAA. You may be one of them. You may not be one of them. But what kind of look is this for the NCAA now? After seeing what happened last week and the difference in tournament gear between men and women, tournament dinners between men and women, the weight room between men and women, and now the NCAA saying we hate the Boys and Girls of America.
Mitch, you should already know how I feel about this because I ranted on the NCAA. I believe it was around episode 15. They were in my top 4 for 4. I think it was. It was. We were talking about the best things that came out of the pandemic happening. Because obviously the pandemic was a travesty, but there were good things that came out of it. One of those things was last year that the NCAA lost billions of dollars. I've never been a fan of the NCAA for reasons like that. I hate some of the transfer rules, and when I was in school, when we transferred into the NCAA, I had to sit out 2 years. There's no reason. The NCAA has a ton of archaic rules, and it's crazy that they continue to do this, in that these schools and presidents let the NCAA do it, and that they don't break off from the NCAA. And I think that's something we're going to see soon. And this is just more gasoline on top of the fire.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely time for a revolution for those college athletes. It really is. God forbid a local-owned business makes some money and supports charity at the same time, supporting a local basketball player that grew up in the state, goes to Syracuse. Corporations show their true colors when it comes to money, right? You can be as progressive as you want. You can support every movement you want. And it's all for your face. It's nothing but makeup. You see what the NCAA does. You have corporations like Nike. They use sweatshops in China, and they act like they're trying to be progressive. Really, no, they're not. It's just a show, and all they care about is the money. It's pretty sickening, but it's no surprise, at least from my end.
No surprise at all. And, as we've gotten older, Jordan, you obviously went through college athletics before I did and before some listeners out there, but it doesn't even matter if you played college athletics or not. If you're just a human being that has eyes and can read, you understand how big of a fraud the NCAA is, because they don't care about the players. They care about themselves, and that's it. That's why they moved all the tournament games to one location. That's why they said, remember, they're all about fairness, correct? That's why there is Title IX for men's and women's sports, for fairness and equality when it comes to how men and women are treated. Well, one, they just completely blew that rule out of the water when you take a look at the equipment they had for weight rooms and the food they were fed and the gear they got. Two, they kicked the team out of the tournament for testing positive during a global pandemic. Yeah, sure, maybe VCU needed to be better, but you literally just said, yeah, go home. Like, okay, so your fairness there, gone, because let me tell you, in Indianapolis, those teams were treated like they were all the president of the United States. You couldn't get near them. You couldn't. There was no way possible. And now the NCAA comes out and shuts something down that had nothing to do with a player. And like Buddy Boeheim was not going to make anything off this at all. And basically a locally small owned business is going to be hurt from that. And they had to change their plans around. Now, I do believe that they will be putting the face of Jim Boeheim on, because he is not an athlete, which, if I was a kid, I'd want to see Buddy Boeheim. But ultimately, guys, this segues into March Madness. This segues into the Sweet 16 we have for the men's tournament starting on Saturday. But the big question is this going to piss off Buddy Buckets, and will Syracuse advance past the Houston Cougars?
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'm rooting for Syracuse, especially because you guys were hating on Syracuse last Tuesday, hoping they got knocked out of the first round. And they did exactly what Syracuse does when they're an 11 seed. They win, and they win big. You should clip this and send it to that business in New York, whoever it is. Why don't they just use Buddy Boeheim's face and say it's a young Jim Boeheim? I don't see any problem with that. That's an excellent loophole. Just make sure this clip is hidden when the NCAA comes to knocking.
You know what? Hold on. That's a great point. We'll clip this, Jordan, and we're going to send this there, and we're going to promote their small business. I don't know how great donuts are shipped, but we're going to show them that all the way out here in Ohio, we have no connection to Syracuse at all. We support their goal and mission, what they were trying to do. Whether Jordan and I picked Syracuse to advance the tournament, that's besides the fact. We're on their side. We're team, help the Boys and Girls Club of America and sell your donuts and support your business.
The NCAA probably hates their zone just as much as I do. I don't think I support this at all. I actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I think the NCAA did us all a favor. We can't have Syracuse make it any further in the tournament. This is bullshit.
You're just saying that because you have Houston getting to the Final Four.
I hate their zone so much, and when I watch that game, if Houston loses to that zone, after all the tape and all the practice you've had over the last 20 years of basketball, from your wee little kid to an adult, like, it's a zone. Attack it. If they lose, I'm going to lose my mind over this cookie thing. There's no way I'm clipping this.
It's a donut thing, not even a cookie thing.
It's a cookie donut. I don't care. It's Syracuse. I stopped listening when you started talking about it.
That's breaking news. Jordan cares more about his bracket than the boys and girls of America.
That's sickening. That's what that is.
He hates the future.
No,
it's
not. No, it's not my bracket. I just no. It's Syracuse then my bracket. I'm not a Syracuse fan. Not a Syracuse fan. That's all.
We're still going to reach out to this donut company and let them know we support them.
That's cookie company donut.
By the way,
doesn't matter.
Buddy Boeheim is about to drop like 900 points in this next game just to piss off the NCAA. And I hope it's while he's wearing that shirt underneath the jersey that says not NCAA property, just to prove a point. I hope he doesn't even wear a jersey and just wears that shirt during the game. It says not NCAA property.
That's the only way they're allowed to win, is if he, like, I could live with him hitting like 10 threes. But like, well, you couldn't stop Buddy Boeheim. What could you do? Like, I could live with that.
Yeah, an absolute shootout. Like, let's say Houston breaks the zone and just, leaves Jim Boeheim in shambles because he doesn't know what to do when he can't play his zone. But Buddy Boeheim just says, hey, let's go to the promised land. Let's set up a date with Sister Jean. Sister Jean versus Buddy Boeheim. That would be an electric Final Four matchup. And it's something that's not out of the realm of possibility, guys. Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago back in the Sweet 16. Now, I understand I had a rant the other day about Sister Jean, and I would just like to be clear before we continue on. My rant was simply they treat her like she's contributing on the court and like she's a player grabbing boards and like she's the reason that they stopped Kofi Cockburn. Like, no, Sister Jean is a sweet old lady. Sister Jean is, a very big advocate for Loyola Chicago. But stop acting like she just hit a dagger 3-pointer in someone's face to win the game, okay? Let her watch the game. I'd rather watch the game than watch Sister Jean clap. That's all I wanted to say. There's a lot of people out there that thought I had some out for Sister Jean. I don't. She just play. Okay, that's all there is to it. Sam, do you like Sister Jean and the Ramblers advancing past Oregon State into the Elite Eight?
Do I like Sister Jean? No. Do I like Loyola Chicago beating Oregon State and going to the Elite Eight? Yes. Yes, I do. But you know what, Mitch? If you believe in the power of leadership and just the energy that 101-year-old woman brings to that basketball team, she's absolutely doing something for those guys. I'm sure they love her to death. So am I really a Sister Jean hater? No. But I had Illinois winning it all in my bracket, and now all my brackets are busted. So
yeah,
to hell with Sister Jean. Sorry.
She's somebody's grandma. And you guys are sitting here trash.
She's a nun.
Well, that's the first time you guys have caught something dumb I've said the whole show. I've said a lot of dumb stuff. All right. I said that the Panama Canal, I couldn't get my Etsy stuff from the UK, and you guys let that slide. So I'm glad you guys caught that one at least, because I've been dropping dumb stuff in there the whole time. I like Loyola in this. I just think it's crazy that we have an 8, an 11, a 12, and then a 2 seed. The 4 teams left in the Midwest. That's crazy to me that one of those other teams, there's a really good shot that, in 8, 11, or 12 is represented much more than obviously it is Houston. So that's pretty cool.
So I think we're all in agreement that the Ramblers are going to advance here. We're taking the Ramblers, although I was a big advocate for Oregon State, did say they were going to win their first round. I actually did have them winning the second round too. But
did you really?
All good things must come to an end. And ultimately, they're running into Sister Jean, which, listen, if Sister Jean stopped Kofi Cockburn, stopped the cock, then there's no saying what else Sister Jean and the Ramblers can do. Guys, we'll jump up now for another Sweet 16 matchup. We'll go to the South region where the Baylor Bears look like one of the best teams left in the tournament, if not the best team. We'll take on Villanova, who a lot of people, I know I didn't think they'd get this far without one of their key players. They're here. Jay Wright has righted the ship, and Villanova will now try to play spoiler and upset Baylor. Can Jay Wright do it, Jordan?
He can definitely do it. Jay Wright's a fantastic coach and a fantastic person, So I'm all for it. I would love if Villanova could get this win. Would love it. I love an underdog. I'm usually always cheering for the higher seed in the NCAA tournament. I'd love chaos. It's probably, why the Dark Knight and the Joker. I feel such a connection. I like chaos. So when stuff is happening like this, I'm all for it. Even if they're beating teams that I like more. Because March Madness is just more fun that way. Just more fun. So, do I think they're going to win? No, I want them to win. I still think Baylor's going to win this.
Yeah, I think Baylor's too good defensively. They really showed out against Wisconsin. And I'm usually a person who hates on Baylor, especially during tournament time. I had them losing. Yeah, in the second round, not even making the Sweet 16. So now I'm riding Baylor. I think Baylor's going to go very, very far, if not win it all.
Yeah, good point.
Sam, I was right there with you. I had them losing to Wisconsin in the second round. Wisconsin came out in the second half and played tough. I think got the lead down to 8. But ultimately, guys, if Baylor's threes are falling, that team is so athletic and great defensively with their length and athleticism that there might be only one team in the country that can withstand that kind of firepower, and that would be Gonzaga. I too think that ultimately we're going to see Baylor kind of run away with this game over Nova, and they will await the winner of Arkansas and Oral Roberts. Yeah, that's right. The Razorbacks, who I think this is like the first time their school's been relevant in almost any sport for, about 5-10 years now, versus Oral Roberts, who have not only picked up their first tournament win ever, but their first 2 tournament wins ever after beating our Buckeyes and then knocking off Florida 81-78. Sam, can Oral Roberts keep the magic alive and advance to the Elite 8, or are the Razorbacks going to slice them up?
No. So Arkansas and Oral Roberts have already played this season. Really cool thing I heard about Arkansas's coach. I don't know his name, but he picked certain conferences who he thought was going to win and would be in the tournament. Oral Roberts, North Texas, Abilene Christian. They played all 3 of them. That's a coach who looks into the future and he must be a fantastic planner. Anybody who can pull that off, hats off to him. I respect the hell out of it. So, no, they're not going to win, and that's because of what Arkansas did to prepare for this game. They already played them. How can you do that? That's unreal.
Good, Mitch.
I was waiting for you. Ultimately, no, I'm going to go out there. I like Oral. Yeah, I said it. Oral Roberts. Let's ride them, baby. Let's ride the 15 seed to the Elite 8. Let's knock off Arkansas. I am all in on Oral Roberts to beat the Razorbacks. But the question is, are you, Jordan?
I am, and maybe I shouldn't have gave that to you because you just picked it up and just slammed it, and that's what I was going to do. I'm with you right there. I think Oral Roberts actually wins this game. It's going to be a fun game to watch. A lot of these matchups are going to be really fun. It's something I'm really looking forward to.
I just think that Arkansas is going to outclass Oral Roberts
America.
Athletically. Oral Roberts has, I don't know, arguably, I guess, 2 of the best players in the nation.
Top scorer.
Yeah, I forget his name. And then the other guy who doesn't miss a free throw. But honestly, the Buckeyes, as much as I like the Buckeyes, they were a bit overrated this year, especially without Kyle. That was tough. And then Florida, again, just a team that really, at a 7 seed, they're more of a 10 to 12 seed. Not that impressed with Florida, but Arkansas, I think, is one of the SEC's finest teams. But we'll see. Hey, can Oral keep the magic alive? I'd love it.
We'll have to wait and find out, and we'll talk about that in the next episode next week. But guys, let's go to the West region where, by the way, my bracket in the West side is beautiful because I have only missed 2 games, but I do have 3 of my Elite 8 or 3 of the 4 teams in this region correct. Ultimately, I was riding the Bobcats who got knocked out by Creighton. So let's start there. Gonzaga, actually not arguably, consensus says they are the best team in the country, have not lost all year. Then the number one overall seed in the tournament, Jordan. can Coach McDermott and the Blue Jays knock off Mark Feud and the Bulldogs?
Not a chance. Not a chance. It's not going to happen.
Is this even going to be close?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to be close because
I'm
Creighton's
right
not overwhelmingly athletic, and I think to beat Gonzaga, you have to be freakishly athletic. And I don't think Creighton poses any issues. Like you, Mitch, I had 3 out of 4 games right in this region with Gonzaga, USC, and Oregon, but I was also riding Ohio, and obviously the McDermotts took down Ohio. So, but this game will not be close.
I'm right there with you. Sam, do you think this game's close, and do you think Creighton can spring the upset?
No, I like Gonzaga to win. I think they'll cover as well. It was 13.5. I'm sure it's gone up a little bit. I got Drew Timme. I had Oklahoma Sooners covering against Gonzaga, and Drew Timme is unbelievable. And I was so upset. I love a good mustache, and he has a fantastic handlebar mustache. I had to see him hit threes and do unbelievable moves in the post. He's a very, very skilled big man. Gonzaga is stacked. They're loaded. I could not believe how good Gonzaga was. I haven't watched them very much this year, but the 2 times I did watch them in the tournament, I couldn't have been more impressed, even against that 16 seed. They always put up 90 points a game. If someone's going to do it, they're going to do it.
Well, they're averaging over that in the tournament. 98 and 87.
Jeez.
They're trying to make a point too.
They are.
Oh yeah.
Make no doubt about it. They're going to run up the score given the chance. And honestly, if you can't stop them from running up the score, you deserve to have the score run up on you. So.
Exactly. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
We don't really see that a whole lot anymore, and I'm all for them running up the score, guys. The winner of Gonzaga Creighton will await the winner of USC and Oregon. Yes, the 6 and 7 seeds advancing in the West region. Pac-12 rivals played each other already this year. Jordan, are you taking Oregon or are you taking the Trojans of Southern California?
100% taking Oregon because I took them when I filled out my bracket. I have Oregon winning this game in my bracket to play and meet Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. Unfortunately for Oregon, this is going to be a really tough matchup because it's a conference game. Oregon's really hot right now. This is not a team they wanted to see in the tournament. As far as I'm concerned, I have to stick with my pick and continue picking Oregon because I have them in my bracket. But I wouldn't be surprised for a second if USC put some distance from both of those teams early and kept it late. So we'll see. But it's a game that I'm probably most excited to watch come the 28th.
Yeah, I mean, how about the Pac-12 though? I was giving all props in the world to the Big Ten, and they blew it.
Me too.
Big Ten looks like a joke. They look like the worst conference in basketball now. The Pac-12 looks like the best and by far conference. I'll go with the better player here, the team that has the better player, and that's USC. They have the Mobley brothers, and I think their dad is somewhere coaching there. So that's great. It's a family affair. Yeah, it's a family of. Oh, wow. I did not know that's who that was.
Yeah,
all right. I'm taking USC big time.
I think so.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Jordan?
Isn't it Quintino Mobley? Quintino Mobley? Yeah. Quinton. I think that's
who you're thinking of. I'm trying to see if that's their dad.
I hope it's their dad.
While you do that, Sam, I'll come out and say I'm riding the Mobley brothers to the Elite Eight. Listen, I think this game is going to be phenomenal. This might be one of the best games, like you said, Jordan. It has the matchup, and because they've played each other so many times this year, it has the capability to be the best game of this round and potentially set up for one of the best games of the entire tournament when it's all said and done. But listen, Evan Mobley, big guy down low, phenomenal. His brother, phenomenal. They combined for 27 points in that ass kicking of Kansas in the round of 32.
By 34.
Sent Bill Self home packing, which I loved because I'm not a fan of Bill Self whatsoever. But listen, I'm taking the Trojans here to set up a West Coast matchup of Gonzaga and USC. And finally, guys, we have 1, 2, 4, and 11 here in the East region. Michigan had a bit of a scare against LSU for the most part, got things under control, advanced, and they will meet Florida State in the Sweet 16. Jordan, no word on Isaiah Livers, but without him, we're going to assume he's out still. Are you taking Michigan, or are the Seminoles from Florida State going to upset the Wolverines?
You know, on paper right now, I have Michigan over Florida State to meet Alabama in the Elite Eight, but I don't think Michigan gets there. I think Florida State and the Seminoles come on in. You know, I think they bring one of my mascots, Osceola and Renegade, off the football field into the basketball court, and I think they steal Juwan Howard's hopes and dreams of bringing a championship to Ann Arbor.
Yeah. So I did look it up. It's actually Eric Mobley, not Coutinho. That's a shame.
Damn.
But Eric was in the NBA. Just he wasn't very good. Florida State hasn't impressed me. They played very well against Colorado, but they didn't impress me at all in the first round. And then here's Michigan, who I like LSU a lot. I think LSU might be one of the best teams in the tournament, especially with their young core. So I think I got to go Michigan here. They've got the experience. They've got the talent to put up with FSU. And again, FSU, they haven't really wowed me in any way. So I got to go with the blue blood.
Guys, I have Florida State going all the way to the Final Four.
You're really?
I think they're a very good basketball team. So I have them beating Michigan, but I don't give a damn about my bracket anymore. And this is weird for me to say, but I'd like to see the Big Ten be represented somewhat. Ultimately, I'm never going to say Michigan's winning it all because they won't this year, because I don't see how anybody beats Gonzaga or Baylor. I think Michigan wins this game. I do. I think that the tough game they just played against LSU allows a team without their leader and shows them, hey, we can do this. And I think that LSU is more physical and athletic than what Florida State is. Ultimately, I think as long as Michigan stays out of foul trouble, you pound the ball down low and you let your guards work. I like the Wolverines to advance the Elite Eight. And Jordan, I already know who you have winning this next game. You probably don't even think this is a matchup. You might think this is one of the most unfair matchups in this round between the Crimson Tide of Alabama and UCLA.
I feel good about
everybody, Jordan has Alabama winning, so we'll let him talk for like 5 seconds just to say who's winning this game.
I mean, they know what it is. They know what it is.
All right, Sam, you taking the Tide or the Bruins?
Dude, Pac-12. I don't know. And then UCLA, they got a good thing going where they were, first four, whatever four. They had to play an extra game. They had to earn the right to be here. And again, Alabama looks a little shaky, and the Pac-12 looks like an iron giant. I'll take UCLA. I mean, I got nothing to lose. I'll take UCLA in the win.
No way.
So, Sam, do you want me to hop on that with you, or do you want me to stay away so maybe the chance increases? Because we know how bad my luck is.
Hey, you do what you want, Mitch.
All right, well, that's the case. And I hope I'm going to go Alabama, because we all know everybody I usually pick always does really well. So I think the Tide absolutely just smashed the Bruins here. I love the Crimson Tide. I think they're just phenomenal, Jordan. I know you're probably so pumped for me to hop on this Crimson Tide bandwagon, and nothing could possibly go wrong out of this, right?
I don't want you to hop on this bandwagon, and honestly, I'm not accepting applications at this time. So, man, you're trying to invite yourself to my house on my team. I never gave you an invitation. I never sent one out in the mail.
Oh, I'm on there.
No, you're
I'm
not.
in there
No,
like
you're
swimwear.
not. I have that weird. I have a really weird feeling about Alabama. I think they are going to win the whole thing, and I think everybody's going to be so mad about it. Especially Brandon Ranke out there. Brandon Ranke's going to be pissed if Alabama wins it all. He's going to be
mad. I'm gonna be next to my neighbor Sean from Alabama, big Bama fan. Oh, and we're gonna be riding the Crimson Tide together. We're gonna ride the Tide, baby.
No, you're not.
You know why? Because waves don't die. That's why.
Not.
Tide
Great
all
Mitch.
way.
Not accepting applications.
Very
Sean
good
was. My neighbor was. Saying he's born and raised Bama, Crimson Tide.
Bama.
Horns down. That's about all we need to talk about March Madness, because we'll have a plethora of it to talk about next week. These games will be classic this weekend, guys. Don't forget Sweet 16 kicking off on Saturday and Sunday. The Elite Eight matchups will be on Monday and Tuesday. Jordan, finally, one of our bigger stories. Man, the Pittsburgh Steelers demise is awesome. It's awesome. For as much shit as us Browns fans have taken from them, ever since they decided to open their mouths after the Week 17 loss to us, the Browns have went in and kicked their ass. Players have retired. Players have left. They've re-signed Juju Smith-Schuster, and now former rookie, now going into a second-year wide receiver, Chase Claypool is involved in a bar fight. Jordan, this was released by TMZ. I'll be the first one to admit I was expecting a little more when I watched the video. However, not a good look. You can obviously see him kick a man when he's down, which that says a lot about you as a person. If you're already kicking someone that is down, you're a piece of shit, basically, Chase Claypool. Not basically, you are. First off, you said losing never heard of her. You proceeded to lose 4 of your next 5 or 6 games. So you just read the room, jackass. And then secondly, you get caught on camera at a bar kicking someone while they're down. That's just, you're a terrible person. But Jordan, what did you think about the bar fight that was released of Chase Claypool? And then how sweet is this to see Steelers in the news for the wrong reasons?
Man, when it rains, it pours. We never see things happen like this in Pittsburgh ever. And if they do happen, they've cleaned them up really quick. So I'm sure this won't linger, and they'll figure this out pretty quick. But if he does something else like this again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers let him go, even though he's just like a next level wide receiver. The Steelers have let big names go before, and they'll do it again. The only person who's really gotten out of there after being alleged of doing something or doing something bad is Big Ben. Everybody else, they got shipped out. So I'm rooting for him to do something else stupid because I want him out of our division.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped. I watched the video right before the show, and just like you, Mitch, I was like, what's this? Like a bunch of drunk guys wrestling on the floor. Like, come on.
I expected to see some punches or something, or, a glass bottle shattered. Like, no.
That was great.
Yeah, they're having, they're getting a little rough. That's what guys do. You get a little drunk and you just start wrestling. You start wrestling. But does it shock me Claypool kicks a guy while he's down? No. Claypool's talking shit on Richard Jackson, saying, "Yeah, this is when I knew he was a fish." Yeah, he's our 20th backup. Like I don't care what Claypool wants. And when you have fantastic leaders, the QB room like Big Ben, Mason Rudolph, just 2 of the most outstanding gentlemen in the NFL. They don't say, do anything wrong at all. They'll never really infringe on somebody's personal space, especially Big Ben. So you know what? The Steelers are going to recover from this one. They're going to be just okay. So
would you let
how about you? Yeah.
If you had a daughter, would you let your daughter be Big Ben?
Oh, absolutely. He's a man of his word. He came out, I've got a little bit of a porn problem. At least he admits that. He's moving forward, getting his mind off the porn and putting it back on the football field. So, hey, watch out for those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Listen, I love the Steelers' demise. This is awesome to see. I'm so happy they're bringing back Juju Smith Poopster, as I like to call him, because he's literally poop as a wide receiver. It was even better that a Steelers fan account tweeted out that they have the best wide receiver core in the NFL. Like, bro, the only thing your wide receiver core is good at is dropping passes. Like, you were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. But that's all the time of day I'm going to give him. Listen, Jordan, you're right. There's only been one guy that has survived anything in Pittsburgh, and his name's Ben Roethlisberger. Yep. And kind of crazy when you think about it, because some of the other things that players gotten shipped out for really aren't as bad as what Ben Roethlisberger was accused of.
Santonio Holmes, weed. They shipped him out. They found like this much weed. By the way, that's not much weed. They shipped his ass out so quick, and wasn't he the Super Bowl MVP?
The toe drag, baby.
What? Like crazy. And Big Ben gets those accusations, and it is kind of wild.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy that like those grown men get in trouble for smoking pot. Like, not anymore, but just the fact of how severe that was in the NFL. Your star wideout smokes a little bit of pot. He's 30 years old. Like, my goodness. Like, what a Oh my
You got-
God.
The NBA has already said next year they're not going to drug test for weed anymore. The NBA's over here rocking out saying, yeah, hey, smoke all the weed you want. Meanwhile, the NFL is like, oh, no. Jordan, how much weed did Santonio Holmes have? This much?
Not that
Oh,
much.
no, you can't have that. You can't have that, sir. You're out. You're gone.
He didn't have enough.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
You know what Sam, I'm sure you say this as a teacher. I mean, if you don't bring enough to share with everybody, you can't have it, right?
That's right. And that's just poor character issues. You know, that goes all the way back to kindergarten. If Santonio Holmes isn't paying attention during kindergarten, he's not watching film. That's just A and B right there.
You're absolutely right. And maybe, you know what, Jordan, I think we've been looking at these situations wrong the entire time. I think that's what it's been. Maybe we're ahead of the game. We've been looking at it wrong the entire time. Maybe Antonio Brown got in trouble because the chair he threw off the balcony, he didn't throw the other chairs off. Maybe it's because he just threw one chair, not all of them. Do you think that's what it could have been and why he's been in trouble?
That makes a lot more sense, Mitch. A lot more sense.
When you say it like this, I mean, geez. I used to get in trouble.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I used to get in trouble all the time for trying to eat during class and not have enough to share with the class. That makes sense now. Yeah. It's all adding up.
Yeah, this has been a shit last couple of years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A shit last couple of years. And I will say this, AB and Le'Veon Bell, maybe there were real problems in Pittsburgh outside of those two. Clearly there are. Or there were, right? Everybody thought it was just AB and Le'Veon Bell. And turns out everybody in Pittsburgh's a shithead. Who would have thought? You know?
I would have.
Yeah. I mean, they're just really good at, you know, not letting things get out. I mean, their coach did try to trip a player who was trying to run a kickoff for a touchdown back. I mean, that's the character they're dealing with. That's their leader.
Mm-hmm.
It was an accident. You know? It was an accident.
I love that he did it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's kind of badass. It makes me like Mike Tomlin better. But, like, players are going to act in accordance with, you know, how their leader acts. It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I'm a big Mike Tomlin guy, I think. But I don't know. It seems like he doesn't really have that much control in the locker room as I think. Maybe he did when, 2008, when they had, you know, guys like Hines Ward still on the team, big veterans. But now, I don't know. A lot of young guys can't really control it as well. So it makes you think.
That's true. You know,
I'm sorry. I love Ricky Williams so much.
Yeah, Ricky Williams out there. Jordan, speaking of Tomlin stepping on the field, you know, that shows he's got some balls to do that. I mean, he's like caught on the big screen inside the stadium, caught on camera. And so speaking of balls, don't you think it's time that we ask who has the bigger balls?
I think it is. I don't know if I've optimized the screen yet, but we're going to find out.
Who has bigger balls?
Oh, hey. You did. Oh, you did optimize it.
I did, kinda. Well, there's no Sam. Sam, where are you? Sam.
All there right. He is.
Who has bigger balls?
Guys, I'll make my pitch first. Jordan, you already knew this one was coming. Is it Nick Young for his comments regarding NCAA women's basketball? As we know and touched on earlier in this episode 37, that the women in the NCAA tournament were treated unfairly when it comes to their meals, comes to the weights, and the space they were given, and the gear. Well, Nick Young took to Twitter and offered his opinion. He said the women's basketball is just the JV team. They don't bring in the big bucks. And since then has been getting absolutely ridiculed on Twitter, which he deserved. So does Nick Young have big balls? Or do we have another candidate today?
Oh, I've got a candidate.
Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know, last time I went with the Florida woman, we're going back to a Florida woman. Edith Riddle shows up to her daughter's middle school with a boxing glove super glued on her hand. Now, her daughter's getting bullied. Principal's not doing anything about it. Who would have thought, right? Somebody getting bullied at a school and just administration like ignores it. Wow. Unbelievable. But Edith Riddle takes it into her own hands. Super glues her boxing glove on her hand, goes into the cafeteria, and a middle school, I will add, and beats up the little girl. And now she's in prison. Rightfully so.
How old?
Yeah.
Did she beat her up pretty bad?
Well, I mean, she's an adult. You can't go to a middle school with a boxing glove, super glue to your hand, and start punching middle schoolers.
can't
I
do
wish
that.
I could do it.
I
Don't
mean, you
get me
can't.
wrong, but no, you can't do it.
Well, like, I mean, was it a
This is so
1-2? Was
absurd.
it a left hook, right hook? Upper, like what kind? I mean, I think we do need some
I don't
details.
know.
I mean,
Hey,
you can't hit
know.
kids.
Give me some context on this woman again, on Edith.
Yeah, so Edith Riddle, I think she's 34 years old.
She's 34.
Daughter.
I didn't. Okay, I thought the daughter went in there with the boxing glove. I didn't know the mom went in there with the boxing glove.
No,
Mom.
it's the mother.
Well, that's
It's
a
the
that's
mother,
a
yeah.
that's a big problem because you're an adult and you can't punch little kids in the face, or anybody
yeah,
for
yeah.
that matter. You can't punch adults in the face either. Yeah, that's How many
Well,
kids did she
so
punch in the face?
So the daughter pushed the victim to the ground,
Just one?
began punching her, and then Edith herself joined in. So it was
Oh,
a
thank
little
you.
bit of mother-daughter
That's not
bonding
fair.
moment.
Did they allow this girl to get her mother in advance so she could also tag team her in?
Oh, the mother talked to the principal before she went into the cafeteria. She had the glove.
This is a cafeteria?
glued
She
on.
asked permission and then did that? She asked permission first? Do you know
Well,
the
there was no-
balls you have to ask permission? Hey, I'm going to go to the cafeteria with this boxing glove glued to my hand. I'm going to beat the shit out of the girl that's been bullying my daughter. Then I'm going to tag team my daughter in, and she's going to Clace Chape. Oh, man, I butchered his name. I switched that around. Man, this might be one of the worst ones yet, guys. This is when we put our all-time bracket together, Edith might be here. I forget
She's the number one seed.
what Mitch's was. Do I even care? I don't think I do.
No, it doesn't matter because I'm
What was
actually
yours?
ashamed. Nick Young saying women's basketball is JV. I mean, that's bad. But listen,
It's
a
bad.
mom and a daughter double teaming a girl in a cafeteria in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, the Nick Young thing doesn't surprise you, right? But the woman super gluing a boxing glove to her hand, does she still have that in prison?
Yeah, like
Can you imagine
She-
your
she
cellmate
planned.
coming in with one boxing glove on their hand?
She
That's-
planned to a super glue. That's why she couldn't take it off.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
so. Like, was it the daughter? Like, oh my goodness, this is just opened up so many doors. Like, was it the daughter's idea to start this fight? Like, did she say, "Hey, mom, can you come to school and beat this girl up?" Or what? I mean, I don't. Wow, this is absolutely
You can't
riveting.
punch little kids.
I mean, you can't.
that would be a great shirt.
Especially if you're an adult, you can't. I mean, you really can't put your hands on any kids, let alone punch a kid. So,
So are we? Is it pretty?
it's unanimous.
Okay.
I think if a listener out there even heard us entertain the thought of Nick Young, listen, we are acknowledging what Nick wrong did. Oh my goodness, Nick Young did was wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, Edith takes the cake. Edith didn't just take the cake; she took a whole freaking bakery with her. That's how many cakes she took for this award. And then-
Edith's
and she-
nuts. Well, I don't know where Mitch or Sam went. Edith definitely takes the cake. Not sure where Mitch or Sam went. Guys, this has been a fantastic episode of Cover Your Balls. It always is. Here's Mitchell right now. Mitch, we were just wrapping up.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know, but we went single screen. That was kind of wild.
Do we still have Sam in here?
No, Sam's gone too. You guys were gone together.
We must got kicked. Well,
Yeah.
basically, Edith takes the cake. If Sam is back in here or still listening to us, that was very wild. But yes, this is the conclusion of episode 37. A couple side notes for everyone before we get out of here. Make sure you are liked, subscribed, commented everything, and just listen to us as a whole. I've already had a couple of people tweet at me after last episode in the ball pit. Mitch Farnsworth saying the NCAA just took us out, Jordan. That's what it was. I wouldn't be shocked. But guys, make sure you have your notifications turned on because next week the episodes are going to vary on time. Tuesday, we will not be going live. Looking at Monday, potentially Wednesday for the first episode next week. We'll be joined by a very special guest, someone currently in Major League Baseball in camp. of spring training. We will have our baseball preview next week as MLB opening day is just 7 days away, and we will get that kicked off. We will round up all the rest of March Madness and everything else going in the sporting world. We're going to cover all your balls because that's what we're here to do. So until then, and until you follow us on Twitter, thank you to everybody in the ball pit. And as always,
Let fucking Baker Mayfield do this shit to you, bro.